They whispered labels behind her back, smiling to her face while calling her hot but dumb, as if beauty erased the right to be thoughtful, curious, or brilliant. She heard them more often than they guessed, each remark floating like a careless paper cut across the heart. Instead of fighting back loudly, she built quiet strength, stacking small acts of kindness, showing up early, staying late, noticing those others ignored. Her silence wasn't emptiness, it was restraint. She was learning how opinions reveal more about speakers than targets, and she stored that truth like a secret lantern, waiting for the right moment to shine without begging anyone for permission. In the same town lived a single dad who carried love and responsibility in both hands every day. His mornings began with tangled shoelaces, rushed breakfasts, and gentle pep talks in the mirror reminding himself he was enough. He had learned grace not from books but from bedtime stories and scraped-knee apologies. People rarely asked how he was doing, they admired his strength but overlooked his loneliness, assuming competence cancels out the need to be seen. He believed in dignity, in listening before judging, and in speaking with class even when life had not always spoken kindly to him. Their paths crossed in the most ordinary place, a grocery aisle filled with fluorescent lights and clattering carts. She dropped a basket of apples that rolled like bright planets across the floor, and laughter from nearby spectators rose too quickly, too eagerly, like they were waiting for proof of the judgment. Before embarrassment could swallow her, the single dad knelt beside her, gathering apples without spectacle or smirk. He said simply, "Happens to everyone," with a warmth that steadied her shaking breath, and suddenly the aisle felt less like a stage and more like a safe harbor. Conversation began as small talk, but small talk often opens large doors when respect holds the hinge. He asked real questions, not the shallow kind that search only for appearances. She spoke carefully at first, expecting interruption or condescension, but none came. Instead, he listened the way few do, to understand, not to reply. Her ideas about books, dreams, work, and the future flowed forward, surprising even herself. The more she talked, the more she remembered she had always been intelligent, she had simply learned to hide it from people who treated her mind as decoration instead of substance. Word traveled fast. Those who had labeled her felt confused watching someone treat her as equal. They joked that he'd figure it out soon, still trapped inside their own echoing assumptions. Yet the single dad kept speaking with patience and clarity, gently redirecting any disrespect that drifted toward her name. He never performed chivalry, he practiced it quietly, as a habit rather than a show. To him, class was not clothing or status but the way a person made others feel in their presence. And standing near her, he saw not a stereotype, but a story still being written. She began to shine differently, not brighter in beauty but clearer in confidence. Her laughter carried new depth, anchored in self-acceptance rather than approval. The words people once used to diminish her lost their weight, falling away like rust scraped from an old bell. She understood something profound: intelligence does not need loud defense, it reveals itself through curiosity, compassion, and resilience. She allowed herself to ask questions without fear of mockery, and the world widened, room by room, like a house she had always owned but finally explored with the lights on. One afternoon, in a cafe humming with soft conversations, someone repeated the old insult within earshot. The single dad didn't raise his voice or craft a sharp comeback. Instead, he calmly said, "Intelligence isn't measured by your prejudice," and returned to his tea. The simplicity of his response carried more power than anger could. Silence followed, not the awkward kind but the reflective kind that rearranges people from the inside. She felt tears threaten but held them back, not from pain this time, but gratitude. She realized that real allies do not rescue, they respect. He also shared his own vulnerabilities, the nights he worried about being enough for his child, the jobs he worked, the dreams he had set aside but not forgotten. She listened with the same care he had offered her. The conversations became mirrors and windows at once, mirrors that showed who they already were, windows that revealed who they could become. They discovered that dignity thrives in reciprocity, not performance, and that kindness grows best in the soil of honest stories rather than polished masks. The town began to notice changes they couldn't easily name. She volunteered to tutor younger students, surprising those who thought she had nothing to teach. Her explanations were patient, vivid, and full of life. Children saw in her what adults had missed, someone who made learning feel possible. The label people had slapped on her no longer stuck, truth had outgrown rumor. Yet she didn't seek revenge or validation. She simply kept showing up, her strength no longer silent but serene, like a river carving stone without shouting. The single dad found himself inspired as well. Watching her reclaim her voice encouraged him to reclaim dormant dreams. He enrolled in evening classes, not to impress anyone but to grow alongside his child's growing years. They supported each other in small ways, reminders, shared meals, gentle jokes after long days. Class, he often thought, is the art of leaving people better than you found them. She had done that for him, just as he had done for her, each lighting the other's path without trying to own the light. At a community event, someone publicly praised her beauty but hinted again at the old stereotype, half laughing as if insult wrapped in humor becomes harmless. This time, she spoke. Her voice was steady, not sharp. She said, "You're confusing your expectations with my abilities." The room quieted. She didn't explain herself further because she didn't need to. The single dad watched with pride, not as a savior but as a witness to her unfolding strength. That day, she stopped living as a reaction to criticism and began living as a declaration of worth. Rumors weakened, replaced by respect that arrived late but arrived nonetheless. People began telling a different story, though she owed them no transformation tale. She wasn't suddenly smarter, she was simply no longer filtered through mockery. The single dad's child adored her, seeing only kindness, creativity, and the way she made homework fun. Children are often the clearest judges of character, untouched by the laziness of stereotypes. Together, they formed a small constellation of laughter, effort, and grace bright enough to guide him through ordinary days. She reflected on the journey and understood that the words once used to reduce her had become material for her strength. She learned the difference between being quiet because you feel small and being quiet because you are grounded. She also learned that sometimes it only takes one person speaking with class to change how the whole room sounds. That one person had been a single dad who knew the cost of careless language and chose better every day, not because it was easy, but because someone always learns from the way we speak. Their friendship, perhaps love, was not the point of the story, though it grew gently like ivy around shared moments. The real transformation happened within themselves. He discovered he was never alone in his struggles. She discovered she had never lacked intelligence, only space to express it safely. Together, they modeled a different culture, one where respect isn't earned through perfection or performance but offered freely as the baseline of human dignity. And so the phrase that once wounded her lost all power. People might still judge, as people always do, but she no longer carried their words as truth. She walked forward with calm confidence, and he walked beside her with unwavering grace. The lesson lingered for anyone willing to hear it. Class is not wealth, titles, or applause. Class is choosing words that heal instead of harm, seeing beyond stereotypes, and recognizing brilliance where others refuse to look. In that recognition, both of them found a new beginning.